Hello everyone, my name is Noon, and today I'll be explaining exercises regarding the topic of conjugates. So in this exercise, we have bracket z1 minus z2 bracket conjugate plus z1 conjugate, and then conjugate it again, then divide by z2 squared conjugate plus z2 over z1 conjugate. So in order to solve this, we must first, let us solve what's inside the bracket first. So z1 minus z2 is equal to 2 minus I minus 3 plus I. And let's times the minus into the bracket. And real numbers minus with real numbers, and imaginary numbers with imaginary numbers. Next, we're going to do z1 star, which is conjugate. What is conjugate? Conjugate is basically changing the sign in the middle of the real and imaginary terms, like changing it to an opposite sign. So you would have 2 plus I. Next, let's do z2 square, which would be 3 plus I bracket square. So using the formula a square plus 2 times a times b plus b square. Now I square is minus 1. So 3 squares is 9. So 9 minus 1 is 8. Let's solve z2 divided by z1. Our z2 is 3 plus I, and our z1 is 2 minus I. So how can we solve this? Well, we must times the opposite term of the denominator, and doing that, we also have to multiply it in the numerator as well. So let's times this together. This a minus b times a plus b is form of a squared minus b squared. So we can go ahead and do it like this. So I squared, as I mentioned again, is minus 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5 plus 5i. And do the same. 2 squared is 4, I squared is minus 1, and minus 1 is plus 1. So we get 4 plus 1, which is 5. Then we can just factorize 5 out, and you would have 1 plus I. Now it's not over yet, so let's solve this question. So we already find what's needed inside the bracket, so all we need to do is just to fill it in. So minus 1. So as I mentioned, the conjugation of the term is just switching the middle sign. So let's go ahead and change all their signs. Minus 1 plus 2 is 1, and 2i minus I is plus I. So we can solve this by, we can make it like have the same denominator. However, I propose an easier way to do this. By first, let's solve this term first. By times it with opposite term. So let's times it. And a minus b times a plus b is a squared minus b squared. So 6i squared is minus 1. So 8 minus 6 is going to be 2. And 6 plus 8 is going to be 14. And 8 squared is 64 minus 6i squared. So 6 squared is 36 and I squared is minus 1. And minus 36 times minus 1 is going to be plus 36. So 64 plus 36 is 100. So how are we going to do this? First, we can split them. Next, we're going to simplify. And plus the real terms, and with the real terms and the imaginary term with the imaginary term. So 1 over 50 plus 1. So let's make the denominator the same. And same goes for I. So 1 plus 50 is 51 over 50. And 7 minus 50 is minus 43. So this is our first answer for our first question. So this is the second equation, which is z1 star minus z2 star plus z1 divided by z2 star and squared plus z2 star divided by z1 star. So in order to solve this equation, we must first find what is the conjugate of z1 and the conjugate of z2. And as you know, the conjugate is just switching the signs in the middle between the real terms and the imaginary term. So after we found that, we can plug it in the equation. Now we can expand it. Using a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So I squared is minus 1, so 9 minus 1 is 8. You can expand this normally by making it the same denominator. However, I'm going to be doing it a shorter way by just expanding each term further by timing its denominator and numerator with like the opposite term of this. So once you times the denominator, you must also times the numerator. Now let's expand it. you know, a minus b times a plus b is a squared minus b squared. So that explains that. And 6i squared is minus 6, so 8 minus 6 is 2, plus 14i over 8 squared is 64, and 6i squared is going to be plus 34, so you would get 100. And 2 squared plus 1, which is going to be 5. And I squared is minus 1, so minus 1 is 5. And let's just split the terms. And simplify it. Looking at the same denominator. And 1 plus 50 is 51. And 7 minus 50 is minus 43. That's the answer for the second question. On our findings before, we can see that both equations have the same answer. So what can we infer out of this? So what we can say is that z1 minus z2 bracket all conjugate is equal to z1 star minus z2 star. So the answer of this will be equal to this. What can we infer next? So the conjugate of the conjugate of z1 would just be equal to z1. And for 3, we can see that z2 squared, the conjugate of it, is equal to z2 conjugate squared also. And another thing we can infer is that z2 over z1 all conjugated is going to be equal to z2 conjugate divided by z1 conjugate. So these are the rules that we have learned from our findings. And with these rules, you can use it further into the lesson, and it will be pretty useful. So that's all for my video, and thank you for watching. And I hope that you can remember all the lessons that we have learned these past 10 minutes or so. And thank you.